He grabbed my butt in front of everyone.
Everyone?
It was like, oh, are we on?
This is the show.
Oh, good. Hi, everybody.
I cannot even tell you how excited I am about this episode. This is Becki Newton.
This is Michael Urie, and this is, truthfully, my favorite episode. Favorite.
Wait, what?
I know.
Ever?
So far. That we've talked about, okay? But I am super excited
This is Still Ugly. You're listening to Still Ugly, or maybe you're watching Still Ugly on the YouTubes.
I think you're probably watching it on the YubTub, as the young say. Have you heard that?
They call it YubTub?
My daughter does. So I think all young people do, but who knows?
I mean...
Doesn't it make sense? It's kind of cute. Anyway,
Definitely a trendsetter.
If you are watching, please like us.
Subscribe.
Keep watching us.
And if you listen wherever you get your podcasts...
Keep listening.
Because you have no idea what's in store. This is Still Ugly.
Yay! In this episode, it's Thanksgiving, and Marc and I have the office to ourselves.
We drink champagne. We try on all the dresses. We make prank calls from Wilhelmina's office.
Everyone else spends the holiday with their family. An immigration lawyer stands up Betty and Hilda. Wilhelmina makes a turkey. Fey Sommers comes back from the dead.
And Daniel blows it with Sofia. But most importantly, we sing Dreamgirls.
We're your dream girls, boy.
We'll make you happy.
This is like this is a really special episode for so many reasons, not the least of which is this is when you...
saw your testicles.
Yeah.
Yay! We will get to that because it's
I think it was just one testicle, to be honest.
I'm not sure. I don't know what I was seeing. I think that for many reasons, this was, and I didn't realize it until I watched the episode back, this was the real beginning of Marc and Amanda.
Really?
Like the real, I think, now I'm going to skip way ahead, but in this episode, we see that Marc and Amanda, who have nowhere else to go on Thanksgiving, except back to Mode magazine, where they get to watch the parade from the window and eat all the snacks.
Yeah.
When I watched it back, it just hit me like a ton of bricks that this is when we saw that Marc was Amanda's family and Amanda was Marc's family. We have all these other characters that are with their families and everyone's talking about family and Thanksgiving. Yeah. And these two characters, Mode is their home and their family is each other. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, I laughed and I cried in watching this in a way that really surprised me.
What do we know about Amanda's family at this point in the show?
Nothing.
Not a thing,
and
right?
The actress didn't know anything. So I remember this episode. I remember conversations because Marco Panett was the writer of this episode.
Yes, the great Marco Panett.
And he was incredible. And I remember this is when I learned a lot about Amanda that I didn't know. Like even something so minute as what she wore on the weekends. I remember seeing in the episode, we are casual because it's the weekend and we're not working.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Amanda's just wearing jeans. I remember not knowing what Amanda looked like off duty.
Interesting.
And also, I remember as we approached the Dreamgirls. So in this episode, a lot of viewers might remember that Marc and Amanda try on dresses, get hammered, and sing Dreamgirls.
And snoop around Wilhelmina's office.
And just snoop around and do dumb stuff. I can distinctly remember reading it and going, well, what is Amanda like off duty? Yeah. What does like silly Amanda look like? And what, even when I read in the script, it says Marc and Amanda are singing Dreamgirls. I thought it's easy to look at it now and it makes perfect sense. But I was like, what does it look like? Is Amanda like being slutty? Is it fun? Is it arch? And when I look back, it's two dorky friends having the best time unfiltered. It's very unfiltered. It's very the opposite of what I sort of originally thought, which I thought would be very performative, like very performed and very mapped out and very choreographed. It's just two geeks having fun.
Yeah, I remember thinking that too. I remember reading that in the script that we sing Dreamgirls in the office and thinking, is this like a number?
That's what I thought. And I emailed Marco. I tried to find my email. And and the question I had for him was, no. I can't find anything. But the question I asked was like, how do you envision this? Is it a performance? Because when you read a script and it says musical number, you imagine choreography. And I said like, so what, and also, what does Amanda look like silly? And what does she look like drunk? And
That's fun.
I don't remember his response, but when I watch it back, I do believe the intention was to see these two people enjoying each other on a holiday at Mode. Yeah. You can see that they love Mode. They love the clothes. They love the costume. They love it there. Yeah. So much so that on their one day off, that's where they go.
Right.
So it's their family. It's their home.
Totally.
Mode is their home. And it really... I look back and went like, how brilliant was that to create a home for Marc and Amanda, who could easily just be floating around for the whole series. Their homes mowed and each other.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
What a lovely sentiment.
I loved it.
It was the first time. You hear a little bit about Marc's family. He says something about going back to Schenectady. Is
Schenectady,
that what
yes. Which is what a funny place for Marc to be from.
I know, and to talk all about his girlfriend who lives in Canada, which is a joke from Avenue Q, the musical. But there's a lot of musical stuff in this episode. It was a joke from Avenue Q, but also it's the first time we hear that Marc is in the closet with his family.
So he can be himself and free at Mode in a way he clearly can't be back.
I really love that back in Schenectady or whatever.
Schenectady.
I love that first scene with you and me where it's a walk and talk and you pitch the idea, let's go do this. And we have that great, we walk down the tube together and then we stop in the foyer right before the donut and then we peel off
at the exact same time. I do think it was the beginning. I noticed that exact thing of almost our physical connection of the rhythm of it. Where when we said goodbye, it was bye, turn, exact same time, walk away. I really felt like that rhythm that we saw percolating the first few episodes was very clear that these two soulmates, Becki and Michael and Marc and Amanda, there was just something. They needed each other. They lived for each other. And I liked seeing how excited Amanda was. Oh, guess what we're going to do? Like that excitement for the holidays. Now, conversely, we've got
I also
Betty.
carry shoes. Remember that? I'm carrying shoes in that scene.
Oh, yes. You were
That was one of those, like, whenever we would do a walk and talk, the props people would come up and say, what do you want to be carrying? What do you want to be doing?
And usually I said nothing because I can't do 10 things at the same time. Like I was like, nothing.
You were too busy walking on stilts.
Like crazy high heels.
But I would usually have like papers or
like a yoga mat. Like you always had
something
20
weird.
Things.
And this time I was like, what if I'm carrying? I think I didn't have anything and I just grabbed some shoes.
I used to always take food off people's desks. Like I remember multiple walk and talks where I'm walking by someone and I would just take something and eat it. Yeah, that was the walk and talk was something that I'd never done any show before, but was very common in Ugly Betty to have two characters walking throughout the office. Those are hard to shoot because if you mess it up, you start way back from the beginning.
Yeah.
So those were very ambitious.
We did a lot of oneers.
Yes.
Where you would do the entire scene in one shot. And that's very rare in other.
Oh, I don't think
ever?
No. Well, sometimes in like the hallway of court on Lincoln Lawyer, but it's we don't have extras flying around everywhere and people signing paper. Like it really takes a lot of choreography. And I remember being really nervous every time they'd say action.
Oh, yeah.
So nervous.
Shooting a oneer. It's 100 people.
You don't want to be the one person who messes it up. And often I would just like trip or something where something happens and you start again, but you really.
Or if you do it, there's like a tiny mistake, it's in your head. You make a tiny mistake, but you keep going and it's in your head. And I always find if I make a tiny mistake and it gets in my head, I'll make 3 more. Before
I just keep going until someone says stop.
Yeah.
I'm like, or just maybe nobody noticed.
Yeah, but I still will make more, like I'll be thinking about that mistake and keep messing up. And you have everybody's sort of counting on you. But I find now, like, I'll be on a set and they'll say, let's do it as a oneer. And eventually it's not a oneer.
Well, so while all this is going on, you and I are at Mode. From the very beginning, it's clear Betty wants to get the heck out of Mode so she can go home and help with Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes. Daniel's keeping her because he's just a lovesick little puppy.
He's lovesick and he's all stressed
attention
out.
to her.
And it shows, yet again, Daniel's not aware at all of what Betty needs. It's all about sort of Daniel. He's trying to pick out what shirt he's going to wear. And Betty is really anxious to get home because clearly her family has a tradition, as many, many families do, of what their Thanksgiving looks like.
Yeah.
We right away see that, again, they always reference sort of the connection to the mother that is no longer with them.
Yeah.
So they go home, they cook certain foods in honor of mom. They have certain
Betty
traditions.
shops with
Betty shops.
Ignacio.
And they reintroduce this idea that she's torn between being great at her job, but wanting to get home to be with her family.
Yeah.
And that always comes up. That's something that comes up throughout the whole series is her dedication, which is an incredible part of her. At times, the family is left kind of in the dust because of her commitment to Mode and to Daniel. And even worse when it's about picking out shirts and she's letting down her family. How horrible is that?
Yeah, when he calls her on Thanksgiving Day and he's like, I need you here now.
And she rushes over.
And I
yet
guess
again,
Daniel lives...
Where does he? Let's talk about the geography here.
Well, because also I want to shout out to Daniel's apartment.
Amazing,
which we've seen a bunch of times.
Wall.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mark Worthington.
That was so cool.
Once again.
But it was just on the stages. It was just like a wall with that mural, bed in front of it, but it always looked super cool.
So cool.
It made him so cool.
I want that. I want something like that.
We should.
But it must be right by the office because we see, unless that's a joke, there's a part where you and I are watching the parade.
And we go, there's Betty.
And we say, look, it's the Eva Longoria parade. It's the Eva Longoria float.
Yes.
Is that what it...
No, it was like, what float is that? And we say, that's not a float, that's Betty.
Yes.
With the idea is we're on the whatever floor of mode. We look down and see her in... Okay, this was the first episode where you say, as she's zipping up her puffy coat, Marc has no reason to be anywhere near that scene other than to walk through frame and say... Slimming.
Well, first it's sassy to Vanessa.
Sassy. Slimming. But isn't that a fun... Like, there was no reason. Something else was going on in the scene, and yet you just pop your head in to insult Betty and walk by. That's so damn funny.
So funny.
Because it's so not necessary, but like it had to be there.
And you know, for the rest of the show, anytime Jim Heyman would see me in a new outfit, he would go, slimming. It became like a catchphrase.
Slimming was a catchphrase. I mean, it's so, talk about like, couldn't do that today. Nobody would make that joke today.
No, you can't do that.
No.
That's just mean.
It's just so mean. But on Marc, it somehow was like, I feel like he went into work just so he could make that joke. Like he'd probably seen the coat before and was just waiting for the moment he zipped it up just so he could do that because they're small children.
Okay, so don't forget, your dad has a brunch at 2 p.m. in the executive dining room.
I'm gonna pass on that.
What?
Slimming.
Thanks, Marc.
That's, there's a really funny thing, talking about geography for a second, because we were there every day.
Yes.
You and me, Becki and Michael, were on this set every day, and we had such a keen idea of what the geography of this office was. But when you watch the show, you really have no idea.
No.
We knew exactly where all the offices were and exactly where you could walk and couldn't. And sometimes the director would be like, okay, you're going to come from here and go there. And I'd be like, but that's not a real place.
Right.
And they would be like, no one knows.
No one knows.
You're a lunatic.
Right. But we knew. And it was like, I was still learning. That you're allowed to suspend disbelief and take a left instead of a right.
And I didn't, I'm coming from the theater and also
from Juilliard.
Real life.
Right, in real life.
In real life, you don't walk places where there aren't hallways or,
Yeah.
And I remember later being on the set of a movie and it was we were shooting in a new location, like a real location, and one of the actors was trying to figure out a scene and he said, he was pointing at an area that we weren't shooting and he was like, can I go there? Is this in the movie? Is this in the movie or not? And
is this in
it was a bit of an aggressive moment, actually. I will be honest.
I want to know who it was.
I'll tell you who it is off. It was Betty White. She was the worst. No, it was this actor. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I remember thinking, oh, that's a really smart, even though he was being rude, it was smart.
A smart way to words to use.
Yes,
is this in the movie?
Because it's like, I know this is I know that like there is space here for me to walk, but is this part of the movie or is there a pretend wall
All I'm
here?
thinking about is who was it?
Anyway, just to put this geography thing to bed, your first entrance in this episode, it's at Betty's desk.
Okay.
And you it's a cross, like from one place to another. And you are coming from nowhere. Like in this, you are literally coming from a corner of a room, but it looks like you've walked into the room.
Yes.
And it's a perfect example of what I'm talking
Isn't
about.
it perfect that I had no problem with it and didn't even notice it? I was like, sure, I'll walk
That
over
was the kind of thing that would drive me crazy. And I would stop on set and be like, but this isn't real.
And I was like, I know.
And they'd be like, none of this is real. And so now I actually say, is this in the movie? That's the thing I'll say on set if I'm not sure. Like,
okay, wait, we have to talk more about what actually happened.
Wild. Oh. So there's a lot of family stuff going on.
So much.
Wilhelmina, Nico.
Yes, she clearly is noticing that everyone else is talking about their Thanksgiving plans. There's like Christina standing there. Aren't she like fixing one of her dresses and everyone's talking about all their plans.
Because she's got Donatella's
She's like, I don't have plans. I'm going to
Donna's
a
hella
fancy
Versace,
event.
obviously.
We hear that Nico actually wants to have a Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Oh, you come in and you say.
She's home for Thanksgiving.
She's home. She wants to see you. And Wilhelmina's like, I can't.
I've got plans.
I've got plans.
She knows I have plans.
And then Christina like pins her on purpose.
Yeah.
And we see as she's by herself at the elevator, we see this moment of like, okay, she's a little bit human. Maybe she should see Nico. So she's struggling with that, the like work versus home.
Yeah.
Betty's struggle is that she wants to get home, but also this business with the lawyer.
Yeah.
She finds out from Gina
Who's
Gambaro.
invited to Thanksgiving. Oh, later invited to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so but they find out Gina, who, do we trust Gina? I don't know. She cheated with Walter. She's so good.
Love her.
We find out that this lawyer that has been helping, in quotes, is possibly a fraud.
Debbie Mazar.
But we can't trust anything Gina says.
Right.
So, however, it's pretty loaded information.
And then Betty goes to that she's like, that woman in Astoria. She goes to her door on
check
Thanksgiving.
Her sources. Right. Knock, knock. Oh, my God.
In the middle of all of that, she does that. She goes.
I wonder how she gets around Manhattan so fast. She knows
subway,
all
MTA,
the subway.
MTA.
Yeah, she knows like the subway routes.
MTA, yo.
And then, so she, like, Betty, on top of already feeling like she's letting her family down because she's been at work, she's investigating, she goes to Hilda, yet again, Ana Ortiz for the win, and says, hey, listen, something's going on here.
Yeah.
I don't trust this. I have evidence. And Ana Ortiz perfectly executes the scene where she's like, you know what, like, I know that you're a little jealous that now I'm helping Dad and whatever, but now you need to do this. Like,
that's the scene in the bedroom?
Yeah.
In Betty's bedroom?
Yeah, where
I think
it's
that's the first time we see Betty's bedroom with her accordion door.
Wait, she has an accordion door? I didn't even notice that. The kind of go, eek.
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't
you
that
noticed
great?
the accordion door.
Well, I did scenes in that.
I was noticing the scene with Ana Ortiz. You're like, I'm going to go to the door. But
props to Mark Worthington on the accordion door. That is a really great.
I wonder if that's like a typical feature in houses.
In those row houses?
Yeah,
Queens?
I'm like wondering. Anyway.
I don't know.
So it's basically, we see this thing where it's like Betty is trying to protect the family, but because of her divided attention, Hilda's like, you don't get to come in here and act like you're saving the day when just because, you know, you've been busy.
This is how is Ana Ortiz a genius in this episode, was this scene.
That scene
when she goes off.
Absolutely. And I love the dynamic. They're so fearless in their acting with each other. Like, I believe them as sisters and I believe their conflicts, and incredible. Incredible.
And then the flip later when when Debbie Mazar's character does not show up and has obviously run off with the money. That flip when Ana says, I know what you're going to say, you know, just say it. And of course, America takes the high road, or Betty takes the high road.
What about when she says, since when do we believe that skank Gina Gambaro? I love that.
Yeah.
Did I make that line up? I might have just invented it, but I like the sentiment.
That sentiment was definitely what they said.
More Still Ugly after these words from our sponsors. Still there? We're still ugly.
Okay, and then there's like Daniel. He's like obsessing over Sofia. And he's like, oh, there's this brunch tomorrow. I'm not going to go. Then Sofia shows up and says, hey, are you going to the brunch tomorrow? And of course he says yes.
Oh, he's not going to go?
He wasn't going to go because he's like, I don't want to. It seems kind of lame.
Right.
It's like a family, you know, his family hanging out never seems to go very well.
Yeah.
With Claire Mead's
what about that
drinking problem.
Judith sticks her finger in Bradford's scotch and then licks it.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a fun family table.
No.
So he's like, I don't want to go. And then we find out that Sofia is going to be there. So he says, I am going to go.
And then while they're at the brunch, which is at the office apparently, right? That was at the office. He's in his office.
Yeah.
And he sees Fey. Fey walks by. What about my voicemail?
Michael left me a voicemail last night. And I thought it was like a butt dial because all I heard was this. Fey. And he hung up. And I was like, huh? And I listened to it again and I realized you did it twice. You went, Fey. Fey. And I texted him, did you mean to grunt on my voicemail? And you wrote, how did you not know I was saying Fey?
I was doing Alan Dale saying Fey.
But without context, it sounded like you were grunting on my voicemail, which you've done before. I was like, not a surprise. But then I was like, okay, now I understand.
What about how Alan Dale, so many of his lines are just Fey question mark.
Fey?
Fey?
Fey.
Because everywhere he goes, he thinks he sees her, and then he quietly says, "Was that you, Fey?"
Fey.
Poor guy.
That poor guy. Like, we're literally singing Dreamgirls and doing cartwheels. And
he's like,
Fey, looking around for like dead Fey Sommers. He must have been like, what planet am I on?
I'm
we
sure.
have to talk to Allendale. I love Allendale.
We got to find out what he thought was going on.
Like, what was he like? What is happening?
Because there must
Do you think
have
he had to study a lot for his lines? Not really. He's like, today, 3 Feys. I got 3 Feys today.
It's a 3 Fey day.
It's a 3 Fey day.
Fey.
And it was also, I wonder what was explained to him. Because I, again, still don't know what was happening with that whole storyline. Did he understand?
No. We're supposed to think it's Fey Sommers. Or it's supposed to be a mystery. But then he opens the crypt. He goes into the crypt with Stavros.
Where is this crypt?
It's in the tube.
I know that it's in the tube. But like, now you're all talking about the geography. Like, where does one keep a crypt?
Well, it's some cemetery. There is an establishing shot of some cemetery. But then
again, geographically, he gets there pretty fast. Like, suddenly we're always at the crypt. It's not like downstairs.
Well, I
in the
think
basement.
Bradford has some kind of police escort.
Like a helicopter.
Yes,
where he's like, let's go see the crypt again. Open it up and check on Fey.
His motorcade goes to the... But they open, which is the easiest thing in the world, seemingly, to open. And then,
are crypts that easy to open?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. I want to go to the writer's room here. They're like, here's what's going to happen. We need to throw the audience. Have Bradford open up the crypt again. Like, the logic,
and make sure the body
I have so many
there.
questions, but maybe the answer isn't supposed to exist.
And then he buries him alive.
Steve the henchman.
Yeah, Stavros.
What you used to call him? Stavros. Just going to pop Steve in there? Why did he
This
bury
other
him
guy
alive?
comes in, this other muscle guy,
Why are we
Mr.
burying
Green.
people in the crypt? I bet Allendale is still wondering why Steve the henchman was in the crypt. Like, why? Are we murderer?
It's not even buried because it's above ground. It's
so was
just
he like,
sitting there in the middle of the
someone
tube.
Someone left me in here.
At the end of the episode, he's in there screaming, "Let me out, let me out." I guess he's going to die of...
He's not going to die in there. Someone's going to open up the crypt again.
Well, then what's the point? The point of putting him in there was so that he won't live.
Well, was the point then to show that Bradford Mead is, in fact, a murderer?
Yeah, I think so. Why else would he put him...
I don't know. Again, lots of questions.
Tune in next week, I guess.
Lots of questions.
But like he definitely has another henchman who comes in and he's like, too many loose ends.
Well, or is it just like Steve the henchman? He's like, you know what? It's just not working out. Put him in the crypt and hire a new guy. Like, is that...
Well, he hires the new guy to put him in the crypt.
Do you think he's done that before?
Yeah, I mean, what did Steve... What? Well, we don't know what he hired Steve for in the first place. There's so many questions.
I don't think, again, I think like, I don't know that there were answers. I think that there maybe were plot points that they're like, who knows? Let's see if the audience comes along this right. I don't know.
I wonder
Clearly, I'm still wondering 18 years later or however many years.
This is a good question for Mark Worthington. I want to get into all of this. I want Steve the henchman
on here.
Let's get Stavros.
Let's find him. Okay, wait.
But I do think that when they wrote this, like to their credit, I think they wrote it imagining that this set and this crypt would be a more menacing and scary place.
Instead of it being like the tube in crypt form.
It looks like, yeah, I mean, they get into that coffin like you get into an Amazon package.
That's what
I mean.
It's
so easy to just open.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Green comes in and the next thing we know, Steve is wide awake inside
a crypt.
Inside the coffin, unable to get out. And it's glass.
It's so confusing. But here's what I want to know. Logistically speaking, this show was a drama. People forget that because it was so funny, but it was a drama. Do you think...
A dramedy.
A dramedy, but it was a 1 hour.
Yes,
in the awards categories, it was a drama, not a comedy, right?
I don't
know. Don't quote me on that. But in general,
it was a comedy for like the Golden Globes.
Or for the Emmys, wasn't it a drama? I don't know. My point, though, is that maybe in the beginning,
I don't know.
There was actual like murder and like the mystery and murder.
Yes.
Maybe they didn't, because the show never quite knows like where it's going to go. Maybe this whole like killing people and locking them in crypts was like something like a flavor that they realized, okay, we don't really... That's like something that we don't really need to be pursuing, this mystery and the woman in the basement and I'm going to kill you and set things on fire. Like maybe they just didn't know. They hadn't fleshed it out how necessary or interested people would be in that.
Well,
that's my contention. My contention is like in the beginning, there was a lot more of that and it kind of went away. The mystery part.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the telenovela. You know, in telenovelas, there are murders and
but there weren't any more secret murders as the show went on, right? Like 4 years in, I'm just trying to.
I mean, there was some criminal activity, certainly. I don't know if there was murder.
But like locking people in crypts.
Doesn't Bradford get murdered? He dies, doesn't he?
Didn't he have a heart attack at the wedding because I sang Milkshake?
Oh, does he die there?
No, he has a heart attack in the wedding.
And he lives.
This is season
2? The wedding was season 2.
All I know is the big question was it appropriate to have Amanda sing Milkshake? Remember? Someone had a heart attack. And they were like, it was the only time, we're going to skip way ahead. One of my favorite moments in the whole series was they're like, okay, we're at Wilhelmina's wedding so she can marry Bradford to like take over the meat empire. He has a heart attack. She turns to Marc and says, do something. And you nudge me and I stand up and sing, my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. And after that, I remember Marco and Silvio coming up to me going, listen, it's really funny, but the network's a little concerned that seems insensitive. I was like, it does seem insensitive. but and I remember it was that thing, and that's what made Ugly Betty so great. It was like is this appropriate factor?
Yeah.
It was never appropriate, which is why it all worked. It was obscenely inappropriate.
Totally.
But somehow the characters made sense of it. So
well, and
the joy in this show is that you're like, nobody can get away. Oh, they did that again. Like they weren't scared.
They also introduce earlier in that episode, as I recall, I mean, we have to rewatch that one, but because I don't really remember, but I feel like they introduced that you're trying to get some job.
A record deal?
Yeah, something. There's like, or on a TV show or something.
Yeah, that's when Amanda started her reality TV adventure. But that's later.
But so I think, I think Marc is like, get up and sing Ave Maria or something,
go,
appropriate.
Sing, bitch. Yeah, you say, Quincy Jones is in the 4th row. Sing, bitch. Okay, wait. Hold on. We have to go back to this one. Okay, wait. So we talk about everything. We basically talked about everything. What were your... I think I've already said it. My waterworks moment for this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Was when I saw...
Sorry, I'm still having
You're still on Milkshake?
Quincy Jones
Quincy Jones is in the 4th row. Sing, bitch.
Quincy Jones is in the 4th row.
I cried happy tears when I saw Marc and Amanda looking out the window at the parade in our weekend wear. I saw 2 young people, these characters as their young, innocent selves, excited to watch a parade. I personally love the Thanksgiving Day parade.
Yeah.
Every Thanksgiving, even when I was in New York, I just wanted to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
But like the Thanksgiving parade and that feeling and the excitement, I saw these 2 characters happy to be together, so much joy on a holiday together. And it really did. Like
Friendsgiving. It was a
Friendsgiving, but like I almost had forgotten about that episode. I remember the Dreamgirls part, but it was like this, oh my God, they celebrate together. And I was so happy because when I watched it, I was happy for them.
Yeah.
Like they have people. So that was my waterworks
I love that
moment.
scene where we're snooping in her office and oh my God, when you prank call, because we know that she's been calling this number. Oh, and I think she's a lesbian, right? That's what I say. I think she's a big old lesbian. And because she's got this woman that she calls. And,
big old lesbian.
And so we find the number. We snoop in her phone records.
Yes.
Which are just easy to find.
Yes, one can always find those.
And we call the number and you call and someone picks up and you're like, hello, this is Wilhelmina Slater.
Because
which became a running thing whenever you would.
I think the idea is Amanda was really bad at impressions, but in her mind, she sounded exactly like her.
Wilhelmina
Talk about it. Like as though Wilhelmina sounds like Skeletor.
That's the number. 2 a.m., 6 in the morning. I can't believe you're doing this.
Wilmot Surgical Center.
Hi, this is Wilhelmina Slater.
Yes, Miss Slater, I'll put you right through.
She's putting me through.
Through to who?
I have no idea.
But like, that's the whole point is the reason they weren't that good at being mean is because there were always moments of, oh, they're just dumb, right? Like those moments bought a lot, I think.
Totally.
They weren't, if it was like a good impression, then it would be mean. But a bad impression just means they're idiots, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I think. Anyway, your waterworks.
My waterworks moment was, here, I wrote it down.
Oh, that memorable? You wrote it down?
I just want to see if you know what it is? It's the scene.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
When Santos arrives and they're in the foyer and he says hi to Justin and then Hilda comes in and then Ignacio comes in. And just they're standing around and they've got their differences. It's sort of like that beautiful, what is Thanksgiving all about? Like they've got their differences, but he showed up with the money. They're taking care of his child. And it's Thanksgiving and they're going to put that aside and enjoy a meal together. And it was just really beautiful. It was a really, really sweet, real moment.
I like when Santos comes and you see Ignacio, you see Papa Bear, where he's in this defense mode of like, you. But Hilda turns to him and gives him this look like, please, Daddy. Right?
Yes.
Like you see, maybe that's what it is. In this episode, we see all these grown-up characters. We feel their child again. Like we see Hilda and I look at her, I was like, she was a little girl turning to her dad being like, please do this for me.
Yeah.
And he did.
And he does.
And against all his sort of Papa Bear judgments, he was like, this guy can come back into my home. So that was really, very impactful.
Really
beautiful. The whole episode. I also personally love Thanksgiving so much. I think it's my favorite holiday.
Really?
Always has been.
Oh. What's your favorite food at Thanksgiving?
Oh God, all of it. It's the combination. It's like the corn on the cob that I like because of the way it looks next to the turkey. Like it's just all of that.
I love when Wilhelmina makes the turkey and she's looking at the book and then it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not bad, even though she doesn't know.
She doesn't know.
How about her calling Martha Stewart? Did we talk about Martha Stewart for a second?
Yes, please.
So in the previous episode, we had that hilarious moment where Justin says, I won the contest
with Martha Stewart.
I know. Martha Stewart name check. And then in the very next episode, was this before Martha went to jail? I think it was.
I don't know. That's a very good question.
I think it was before Martha went to jail. Or maybe it was after.
Either way, Silvio must have been obsessed with Martha Stewart.
It was after Martha went to jail? Yeah.
Which made her more iconic.
And she's on the set of her talk show. Like
in the episode, right.
You can see, so Vanessa calls her.
Yeah.
And then Martha's like, remind me to screen my call. I love Martha acting. And she's like, remind me to screen my calls. Hello. And they shot that thing. Okay, so this is my Martha Stewart story.
Go. Backstory, you did a show with Martha.
I did a show with Martha where I hosted a reality competition show to find the next great topiary artist.
I loved this show.
Clipped. It's on HG.
It was
it's
really
on Discovery
good.
Plus.
You were delightful on the show. I mean it. I loved it. When did it air? Was it like during?
It was a pandemic show.
I was going to say, that makes a lot of sense. I was home. I was like, I want to see Michael today. So I watched you on.
It's really fun. And I think what they didn't realize was that topiary is not a fast art form. So when we would be like, you have this hedge, make a dinosaur in 6 hours.
So then, did you have to stand there for all 6 hours?
No, I didn't.
You're like, I'll be back.
I had a trailer.
You're like, I'm not watching.
I would leave and come back. But this is my favorite thing. So when I had some downtime with Martha on set, and we had never really met, although you and I, do you remember that day that you and I?
I'm having a Martha memory.
Okay, so sidebar.
So many.
One day, we're in New York, and it's just a random day, and you call me, and you're like, if I pick you up, this is crazy. You're like, I'm getting into a car, and I'm going to Macy's. If I pick you up and you come with me, all we have to do is sit at a table and get our photo taken, and we're going to get a, XYZ gift card to Macy's.
Yes, I remember this. I was like, I'm coming to get you.
And Ryan's literally making dinner, and I'm like, this is a lot of money to spend at Macy's.
Yes.
It would cover all of our Christmas gifts.
Yes.
And he was like, just go.
And I was like waiting downstairs.
and I
remember
And we
this.
went down, and we sat at a big table.
With like lots of famous people.
Lots of famous people.
Remember.
I think I was next to Tommy Hilfiger.
I think, yes.
And at the head of the table is Martha Stewart. And you know who was there?
Who?
The president.
What?
Donald Trump was there.
What?
Because he had a Macy's line. And he never sat down. That's all I remember.
How long did we stay?
10 minutes.
And then left.
And then we left. It was all the people.
I bet we had fun.
Of course, we got all this money.
The best part is me calling you and saying, I'm coming over, get in the car.
We got a big Macy's gift card.
Macy's.
Yes. There's like, they sell everything at Macy's.
Yeah.
But I remember Martha was at the head of the table. Everyone was sitting down, and there was never like a moment where we all said, cheese. It was just like somebody
just come sit at the table for a second.
Sit at the table, and they took photos. Donald Trump never sat down, and then we left. It was nuts.
Wasn't there, total sidebar, weren't we talking about doing a Macy's commercial together at one point? Like a million years ago?
I don't.
Do you know how like that used to happen where like a conversation during anyway, we did
back
at one
when
point.
We were,
when we were like relevant. That there was a discussion about you and I doing a Macy's commercial together. I remember
I don't remember that.
Do you want to play a game?
Anyway, hold on, wait.
Okay, wait.
I didn't have my Martha story.
Oh my God.
That wasn't my Martha story.
We've told 10 Martha stories.
So my Martha story was, we had met maybe that day, but not really. And she had been on Ugly Betty, which I remembered, but we didn't work together because she was on the set of her talk show. I mean, literally, she's on the set of her talk show. They came and used her cameras to film that scene.
Which is brilliant, by the way.
Totally brilliant. So we have some downtime on the set of Clipped, our topiary show.
Yes.
And she says, so Michael, what have you been in? And I'm like, well, I was...
What have you been in?
I was like, well, I was actually on Ugly Betty, knowing that that would be something that we could talk about because I assumed I'd have to remind her that she was on it. But
Did you remember?
She said, oh, I was on Ugly Betty. I still get checks. Now, okay. If you don't know, out there in listening to podcast land, actors get residuals.
We used to.
Well, for we still get them for like
on
network.
On a network show, when you were on a show that was on ABC, not Netflix, not streaming. But on a network show, every time your show aired, you would get a small check.
It would get
for
less
residuals.
and less and less.
You would get less every time, but that's how a lot of actors stayed afloat for a very long time.
And you imagine
Law and Order, shows like that, like you would get checks. I think I still get Law and Order checks for like 3 cents.
Right.
And when I was Colleen Hayton, remember?
Of course.
So that you should see my work. I was
of course I remember.
Terrible. Okay, keep going. That's when I took a hard left into comedy because
your Law and Order was so funny.
Kind of. Okay.
But so like for example, I was on 2 episodes of Modern Family, and sometimes I get pretty nice checks.
Really?
So imagine.
You were great.
Just imagine what the other people are getting.
Oh.
Anyway, we still get checks for Ugly Betty sometimes. They've gotten smaller over the years.
I haven't seen one in a while.
Right? But they do come.
Exist.
And Ryan, my other half, Ryan, he was on 1 episode of Ugly Betty. So I kind of get a sense from him.
Which episode was Ryan on?
He plays...
Oh, I'm remembering this now.
It's in like 3 or 4 episodes. It was season 3 or 4.
Yeah,
he's like
later.
a burglar or something.
Yes.
Anyway, Martha not only remembered being on Ugly Betty, but knew that she still got checks. Now, those checks were so small. And so this is like what blew me away.
That she was aware of the checks.
She was aware of the checks that come in, even when they're like under $1.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's how to be successful with money. You and I are like, I don't know, maybe I got one like 2 years ago for $5.
Yeah.
We don't. Yeah.
I mean, I
believe that.
It's also post-prison. She was really keeping track of all that money after.
More Still Ugly after these words from our sponsors. Still there? We're still ugly.
Are you ready to play a game? Because I very much am.
Wait, I just want to make sure there's some things I wrote down in my notes.
My butt is buzzing.
That were really funny to me. Of course, there's the sassy slimming. And we haven't even talked about the testicle, Becki. There's so much to do.
Okay.
There are also a lot of musical references, not just us singing Dreamgirls, which is spectacular, but jazz hands. There's the classic moment where Justin has taught Ignacio about jazz hands, and they do the jazz hands moment, which is so cute.
The Phantom of the Opera.
And then the Phantom of the Opera where
so Santos arrives
and gives him
a present saying, hey, I'm making up for lost time. And in showing how much he doesn't know his son, he gives him what Justin calls a costume, which is, was it a Jets jersey? He gave him a football
No, I think
uniform.
It's Giants. And then Ignacio
shows how little I know.
They like the Jets.
So he gave him a uniform complete with a jockstrap, is that what you call it, or a cup?
It's a cup.
A cup. And Justin looks at it, he goes, oh, a costume. Which, by the way, what's funny is in my family, that's what I would call it, a costume. But then he takes the cup, puts it on his eye. It says, I'm Phantom of the Opera. And what was both beautiful and sad, the beauty of Ugly Betty's both at the same time, was it showed how little. I mean, Santos had no clue about how to connect with his son or what his son might like.
Right.
But also the delight when Justin was thrilled.
Yes, so
and
happy.
Ignacio was happy that his grandson was happy. So it's neat that both of those things can happen at the same time. I love that about the show.
Hey, cool, a costume.
Actually, it's a uniform, man. From the Jets to the best.
Except for the Giants.
Hey, look at this. I got you a helmet and a football.
Cool. Mom, look. I'm the Phantom of the Opera.
Just a little funny thing that made me laugh out loud. Daniel refers to Walter as Wilbur.
She goes, Walter. Yeah, he goes, you're always talking about, because they're talking about how a boyfriend should come up. You're always talking about Wilbur.
So
Walter.
funny. I love that. I love that we made an Eva Longoria joke because this was
when
show
Desperate Housewives was huge.
And it was the same night as us.
Yes.
So it was like really like
a funny ABC reference.
All in the Family thing. What about the moment where, I think all of those, there's a lot of exteriors on the street in Queens.
Yeah.
I think those were all done on a green screen.
Probably. Because we were in
LA.
Yeah, so those were all green screen.
I don't think we were going back to New York to do exteriors.
No, so all of that was LA.
Isn't that crazy? It looks really good.
It looked great.
What about when Betty accidentally knocks a bunch of Tupperware? Oh yeah, she comes in to tell everyone that that Debbie Mazar is a fraud.
Yes.
And she's there, and she's like already there in the kitchen, and Betty freaks out and knocks a bunch of Tupperware.
But Justin goes, ah! Like it's the scariest thing. But again, brilliant. The show added moments that somebody might say, hey, you don't need that moment. But those details, Justin in a complete panic over Tupperware being flung at his head, that's where, to me, the comedy was so original.
Yes.
And the directors were able to find moments that, I wonder if that was on the page. Or was it like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if? And it's not just that it went toward him, it's his reaction to it. So like, there was such a collaborative discovery. Like, as much as you have to plan for these episodes and what shots you're going to do. It always felt like there were these things that were discovered. I'd love to go back and know how much was planned and how much were accidents. But I noticed that too. I laughed so hard.
much. And then
every time I watched it got funnier.
Another physical moment that I know was scripted, because I remember reading it and thinking this is beautiful, was when Betty teaches Daniel how to salsa dance over the phone. It's so good. Such good writing.
Can we please talk about your testicles?
Yes.
Everyone wants to hear about them.
Let's talk about
one.
Another quick guest star shout out.
Don't want to talk about it. Look at him avoiding testicles.
Well, I want to get to my testicles, but David DeSantos plays the bartender.
You love a good bartender.
I love a good guest spot when Betty shows up to pick up drunk Daniel.
Right.
He's just I also happen to know David DeSantos because we did Hamlet together. He played Fortinbras when I was in Hamlet. I played Horatio. So shout out to him. Okay, let's talk about my testicle. But first of all, I want to say it's so ironic that we're going to talk about my testicles. So we were on a couch, not unlike the one we're on, and you looked over and my testicle was popping out from under the dress.
Right,
and right now,
I can see your balls.
You have a button open. And I can see your vagina. I can't actually see it, but...
Oops. Okay, so perfect little intro. So we were filming Dreamgirls. Still getting to know each other, loving each other, clearly in love forever. But it was like this vulnerable moment where we were all dressed up and we were...
In our second dress,
having sort of more, like all the fun had died down and we were having these sort of heartfelt moments together. And we were facing each other, right? Weren't we facing each other?
No, we were like this, arm in arm.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember facing you somehow. It was like this.
We were like in a little couch, on a little couch.
We were on a little couch close together,
kind of arm in arm,
crying about something.
And
chugging beer and
champagne.
Yes, champagne. And the thing about you that always makes me laugh is the more sincere and serious you get, I start getting the giggles. And in this instance, you were being really sincere. And for, me, I looked down, I was like, and because you were wearing a gown with a slit, I'm not sure what you had on under to keep it all together.
I had this.
Something escaped.
It was like a tighty white. It was a tight, but I think it was like a red,
like a loose tighty whitey.
A loose red
Why
underwear.
wear it if it's
I think
loose?
it was red. I think they wanted red in case you saw it because I was wearing a red dress. So they're like,
we're worried about the color, but we're not worried about
the size.
And
it was too big for me.
Your too big red lady panties. As we're sitting there, I see a squished testicle. And at this point, I was like, oh God, do I tell him? But I think my eyes probably got really big. I probably got like, and I think you said, what is it? And I went, Michael, I can see your testicle. And I also didn't want to say it too loudly because I didn't want to embarrass you in front of everyone else. So I think it was like, I can see your testicle.
Meanwhile,
like,
we were mic'd.
We were mic'd, but I still was like, how do I let him, like, how do I let you know? So I tried to let you know subtly, but your reaction was like, oh my God. You reacted, you were so embarrassed. And I don't think I stopped laughing for 6 months. I couldn't look at you or text you or anything without reminding you that I'd seen your testicles. And your recovery made it even sweeter because you were so embarrassed and so like mortified that anytime we
it might have been on camera. Not that they would have used it, but you actually, of course.
So at that point, what was going through your head? How many people have seen this?
Well, yes. And I was also like I'd never really worn a dress before. I mean, I'm not a drag performer, so I don't like wear dresses.
Right.
And so we had spent.
Were you cold? Like, wouldn't you have felt it?
You tell me. Was I cold?
Were you like,
I was just like, I remember.
You just thought like there was air under there anyway because you had that big slit. Like you weren't.
Oh, I definitely didn't know that it was out. I definitely didn't know.
You didn't put it out on purpose.
No, I did not put it out on purpose. I didn't know it was out. I'm a gentleman.
You are. I will
like,
say this: you would never be like, "Hey,
look at my,
let's see.
Hey, Becki, look at my balls." But I also remember, like, I remember thinking this is a really special episode because, well, we had so much great stuff together.
Right. It was,
and it was really, and I knew it was this really funny. Us singing Dreamgirls and me being in a dress, and I wanted it to be. I was taking it really seriously.
I know, that's what made it so funny, is that this was the moment. Like, this was the moment that you were going to anchor the entire episode with your balls. Yeah. And I think that the combination of how serious you were with how funny that looked and the disconnect between what was happening down here and what was happening up here, I don't think I'll ever not be able to laugh at that. Like, it's never not going to be funny to me.
It was good.
It was really
And then
funny.
I told that story on The View.
I've told that story to anyone who would listen. And they're like, what?
It's such a good story.
But I do think it's just like, you were mortified and I couldn't stop laughing because I'm a child. I'm a small child who can't stop laughing.
I wonder if they were rolling. Like, I always wonder, like, do they keep footage? Like
the blooper of, I can see your testicles.
Yeah, like, were they rolling or not? I don't know.
But also, it's at a time where no one else is like allowed to laugh at that. So you couldn't have the director be like, ha ha ha, testicles. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
So the fact that we had to be mature about it made it 100,000 times funnier.
Gosh, that was funny.
Do you want to play a game?
Oh wait, I have one more thought about. I know you're so bored with me.
I'm not bored with you. No. I just Natalie's crying.
One more line that I thought was really, really funny is when Hilda is using a spoon to stir the stuffing, and Poppy comes over and he's like, "You gotta get in there with your hands."
No, he goes, "Where's Betty? Her hands are like meat hooks."
Yes. That's the line I was. Where's your sister? She's got hands like meat hooks.
It's so mean, but funny.
But a compliment.
It's a compliment to her strong hands.
Do we do top looks?
Oh.
I mean, obviously we've got our favorite looks of the episode. Obviously we've got the gowns, which we look so good in.
For me, I think I mentioned it was seeing Marc and Amanda off duty, casual.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, Amanda's wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Like, that's still Amanda.
Right.
Vulnerable, different cute. Amanda without all the masks on. I thought that was super cool.
I really loved Willie's, she has a double-breasted cream-colored trench that's really nice, or a white trench.
Yes, when she was leaving.
Yes, really snazzy. But I'm going to give my look of
Snazzy.
Snazzy. Sassy. Slimming. Speaking of slimming, I'm going to give Betty's puffy blue coat. That's my look of the week. It's like, so good.
I remember it. And also super cool. Like, I would wear that
also
now.
Cool. And probably really warm.
And probably was Marc Jacobs. Like, I guarantee you that was a very expensive coat.
That was always the thing when, like, Betty.
Always. She had the most expensive wardrobe.
Totally.
Are you ready to play a game with me?
Nah.
Okay.
The game is called the Betrayal Meter. And I'm going to ask you now, are you ready to play this game with
I'm
me?
ready. I was born ready to
The theme
play
of the game is betrayal.
Ooh.
When was the last time you felt betrayed? This isn't part of the game. This is just me asking.
Do you know when? I went to get a cinnamon bun on my way here.
Today?
They were out.
You get cinnamon buns every day?
Just on my way here. Because it's on the way here. And we don't do it like every day, but I really felt like...
At home times?
All time. The best cinnamon buns.
All homes?
All time.
Home?
At all time.
Wait, is home...
All time.
What's the other one? Home State?
Home State is where we get the tacos.
That's where I went.
That's where you're obsessed with that. I'm obsessed.
And the salty cookies.
Yes. I was betrayed when they didn't have my cinnamon one then.
Cinnamon.
When were you last betrayed?
I guess it was just now when you told the story about my testicle.
Again?
After it's in public. I don't know. Betrayed?
Betrayed.
Like betrayed.
Yes, betrayed. As opposed to
betrayed. I don't know. Betrayed that's a tough one. Like actually betrayed.
Yeah. Take your time. Just take your time. Let me watch you think for a while.
You know what? Okay, it happened last night. I went to watch. This is the problem when you are a cheapskate like I am, and you share logins to streaming services with others.
Oh no. Was someone watching something that you were watching with them?
Well, this is also when a streamer, like, for example, the one I work for, Apple, they wait so long to give you new seasons. There was also a strike, so I'm not actually mad at Apple.
You're not as mad as you
Severance.
sound like there's a rage happening.
This show Severance, you know?
Yes, I haven't watched it yet.
Apple. So the new season of Severance came out finally after such a long time. And I started watching the second season last night, and I watched the recap of season 1 because it had been so long. And I think that I stopped watching Severance like halfway through the first season for some reason. But it looked like on my Apple, it looked like I had watched the whole thing because I share my Apple with somebody. I don't even know who.
So who betrayed you in this riveting story? Apple? Your friend? Who betrayed you?
I'm not even sure who it was, but I felt betrayed because I didn't.
I just want to clarify. Are you confusing the word confused with betrayed? Because I'm confused at who may have betrayed you in this equation.
I think I may have betrayed myself by not finishing Severance.
And don't remember? Did your memory betray you?
Possible. It's
now
possible.
I'm following again. You've got me back.
I definitely didn't remember a lot of season 1 of Severance as per the recap. But I went ahead and started season 2. And I think I figured out some stuff.
Okay.
But I felt betrayed. So I don't know. Maybe I'm betrayed by Apple. Maybe
Don't
I'm
you ever watch
by...
episodes of Ugly Betty and not even remember being there and we were the ones filming?
Yes.
So I'd like to talk to you more about this betrayal thing. We'll talk about it another time.
No, let's talk about it.
No, we're going to play our game now. Okay, let's
All right,
see.
let's get to the game. There's a lot of double crossing in the episode. I'm going to give you a moment from the episode, and I want you to rank the betrayal from 1 betrayal turkey to 5 betrayal turkeys.
So 5 betrayal turkeys means like that's a lot of betrayal. 1 is it's like a minimal betrayal.
That's right.
Got it, 1 to 5.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, number 1. Martha Stewart refusing to help Wilhelmina with her turkey. 1 turkey, 2 turkeys, 3 turkeys, 4 turkeys, or 5 turkeys?
Oh, 1 turkey. Here's why. If you're Wilhelmina Slater, you have a lot of resources to either buy or figure out how to produce a great turkey.
Yeah.
Not a huge betrayal.
Okay. Not a huge betrayal.
I don't think Martha Stewart owed Wilhelmina a turkey cooking lesson.
What is in a turkey when she has to
brine it? You put the stuffing in.
No, but inside when you get it, it's like the guts, right? The giblets,
the gizzards, and the.
Can I tell you a sidebar, real quick sidebar?
Please.
When I was a kid, my mom used to cook those.
Yeah.
And feed them to the dog.
Aw.
But we had a big
was your dog's name?
Lady.
Aww.
She was like 50 pounds, a lab, and she had a doggy door, and we had a backyard, and she would use that. That's where she would go. So I don't know how they affected her, but remember Sprouts?
Yeah.
Our dog?
That Bernadette Peters helped facilitate. Another story for another day. But
another story for another day. Once we get to Bernadette. in season like 3 or 4 or whatever.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Anyway, Sprouts was our dog. And when we were and Ryan, when Ryan and I started going out, we've always had a Thanksgiving, and Ryan always cooks the turkey.
Aww.
And this was our first time doing it. And he pulled out the giblets and he was going to throw them away. And I was like, oh no, you cook those and you feed them to the dog.
You gave Sprouts
without it.
And
Who
Sprouts,
was 18
no doggy
pounds,
door.
not 50.
Oh,
no doggy door.
Oh,
and
God.
so we gave Sprouts. And the next day,
Sprouts.
I think I was at work. So I don't know if we saved them. I don't know. But basically, we gave Sprouts the giblets, which is like
organs.
Yeah, like liver and
like
heart.
A lot. And Sprouts
like
was a tiny dog.
Really rich stuff.
Or I'm going to throw up. What happened?
We're at work.
Oh, God.
And I come back to my dress. She came with me to work.
Yeah,
came back to my dressing room. This is season 3. And I open the door and I walk into and I literally banana peel on her shit. There is shit everywhere. And I banana peel, slip. I don't fall to the ground.
But you're slipping.
But I slip in her shit. And I'm like, what's going on? And it's everywhere. And I bring her into the hall.
And she shits all over the hall?
And she starts milkshaking out of her butt
I'm gonna throw up.
in the hallway.
Ew, I'm going to throw up. I'm seriously throwing up.
And then I'm like, oh, but this poor dog. And I drove that day. I used to have a car in New York, and I drove that day. And I put her in the back of the car. And we're in traffic on 5th Avenue trying to get back home. And she is in the back seat looking at us so upset and so apologetic.
Shit's all over her.
Shitting all over
So I want to rewind a second.
Don't give your
PA
giblets.
had to clean that up.
It was that great guy.
Someone else had to clean up your giblet dog shit in your dressing room. That's disgusting. That is horrifying.
I think I cleaned up the dressing room.
Did you give a good rap gift? No, you didn't. You're like, I'm just going to.
I cleaned the dressing room.
What about the gross hallway?
He had to clean the hallway because I was needed on set.
That's bad. Of course you were. They're like, okay, I'll do it. PA quit showbiz forever that day. There's no world where that person. Oh my God.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow. Here's the thing. You truly are such a good person that I imagine people wanted to help you. If you were a bad person whose dog had diarrhea all over the hallway, they'd be like, no,
that poor, I'll never forget Sprouts looking at me while milkshake is coming out of her butt.
I can't, if you say milkshake again in this, I'm going to die.
Okay, so that's a 1 betrayal from you with Martha.
But 5,000 betrayals from that story that I can't hear.
betraying Sprouts by feeding her the liver of a turkey when she was just a tiny little dog with basically no
I'm still gonna let you babysit,
digestive
but don't
system.
give any of my kids giblets.
Okay, fair enough.
Especially large plates of them.
Number 2, Santos buying Justin a football uniform, knowing full well that he had no interest in football.
He didn't know that. This is the thing. So I feel like that's ignorance more than betrayal. I think the way Santos played it was that I thought you might like this. It didn't come across as you should learn to like this. And maybe I wasn't watching it the right way. But I thought it just showed how little he knew him, not
maybe
you should enjoy football. Although the gesture itself implies you should enjoy football. But
or you must enjoy football.
What do you think?
Well,
I didn't read it. It's so funny how I didn't read it that way.
He says in the episode that he hasn't, I don't think he's seen Justin in a year.
Right.
But even a year ago, I feel like Justin didn't seem like a football kid.
But if you're not connected, like if I don't know someone's child and you don't know their interests and you've seen them once in a year, it's not totally absurd to not know what they like. That, I think it just more showed how out of his life.
Right.
So I guess the question would be, if Santos had been there every day, would he still have given him that present? That's a character question.
Well, but is ignorance also a betrayal?
Yes, it absolutely is. The betrayal is the disconnect from his own child. So when we put it that way, I would put that at a 4.
Great. Okay, we're really getting somewhere
We
here.
are.
Okay. Leah the lawyer taking the money and running. That's like a whole
so many.
truckload of turkeys.
It's like every turkey on the planet. Horrible, bad lady, horrible.
Anyway, number 4. Is this what is the number?
Hunter.
Hunter is actually a good dancer. What kind of a betrayal is that?
Not a huge one. Daniel for a second was like, for a millisecond, he thought, okay, I'm going to one-up Hunter. Because his whole thing is like, who's this guy? The woman I'm in love with is with this guy, Hunter. He's like, well, he's a bad dancer. I can beat him at that. Turns out Hunter's a good dancer. It's really a betrayal to Daniel's ego, so I'm going to put it down at like a 1.
But bros should know. Bros should know.
Yeah, but it's not like, it doesn't really compare with a lawyer taking the money and running.
What did you think of that guy, Hunter? Great actor.
Teddy Sears.
You know him?
I remembered him I remember the time I knew him from something else, like really nice guy. I remember he was super, super nice.
It was always interesting on the show when they would like bring in a hot guy.
And what does a hot guy look like?
Yeah. And it's like, who decided with this? I mean, he's obviously a great looking man.
Yes.
But like, I was always interested because I'd never been on a show where like you read a script and be like, the most beautiful man in the world walks in, and then
that's a tough audition.
Yeah, and it happens all the time on this show.
Right.
And like who decides?
Right.
It was always
I always go to the hair and makeup department decide, because you can make a lot of people look amazing. You can make a lot of people look horrible.
But also there's the suspension of disbelief of the audience.
We're told. Right, we're told.
But
because if Sofia thinks it must be true kind of thing.
Okay, last but not least, number 5, Fey Sommers coming back from the dead. What kind of betrayal is that?
I'd put it more in the confusing category, as we've discussed, betrayal and confusion. Like, I don't know where she was in the first place, Lady Bandage's basement, wander. It all somehow makes sense in the universe of Fey Sommers. So her coming back from the dead, I don't feel betrayed. I feel like confused, but like we're resolving the confusion. So I'm going to put that down at a 1 turkey.
1 turkey.
A 1 turkey.
For Fey Sommers.
Like, I wasn't,
But we also...
My heart wasn't really set on her death, so her being alive.
I mean, should we be pretending like we don't know what happens when we do? I mean, this is a meta question for our Rewatch podcast. Again. Like, should we, you and me, Becki and Michael, be pretending like we don't know what happens?
Not pretending, but when you watch like Survivor and then they start narrating and you're like, but that already happened, but they're narrating it like it is happening. We're narrating this like it is happening. So I think the idea is we're all learning together, or we're relearning together.
I apologize for any spoilers I may have given.
I don't think you did. You know what? No need for the apology.
Good game.
Good game. Okay, now we have a fan question. I love fan questions so much. This one is called, Can I Help You?
Don't forget, you can send us your questions, your dirty secrets, or even ask us for advice either by email at stilluglypodcast@gmail.com. That's stilluglypodcast@gmail.com. Or you can call us on the phone, 347.
Do it again. What's the number we call on the phone? I just never saw you do that.
347-480-1821. 347-480-1821. Standard text messaging rate supply.
Okay, this one's called, Can I Help You? And
the message comes from Parker.
Oh, yes, in Erie, Pennsylvania. Parker says, do you have advice for someone who wants to start performing? Yes. Specifically, my friends are encouraging me to try performing in drag. I've never done anything like this, but I agree when they tell me it might be good for me. I'm worried I might be too old for it, and my fear is getting in the way.
Oh, interesting. Well, you're definitely not too old.
You're not too old. You're never too old.
In drag.
Yes, but also you're never too old for anything. And you even admit here, Parker, that my fear is getting in the way. So I think you're answering your own question there, right?
I think you must be really funny.
Yeah. If your friends are saying it's a great idea and somewhere within you, well, here's what I would ask. Now, nowhere in this statement do you say, I would like to. You say your friends are telling you to try, and you agree that it might be good for me.
Really good question.
I think the idea is like, do you want to?
Is this something you want?
Right, because that's like everyone can say, oh, you should, but you have to want to. Because performing is terrifying no matter who you are, how much you've done it. The desire to do it has to override fear, insecurity, and all of it, because it is terrifying.
I think you must want to a little bit if you're asking us.
If you're asking, you're asking us, which means you want to, but you need a little like, I would try.
I think you should try it, Parker. I mean, at least don yourself up and see what happens.
Yes.
This is my advice. Make yourself up.
Yep.
Beat your face, as they say.
Do they say beat the face? Just like
beat your face.
The face. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a full beat.
Mm-hmm. I'd never heard you say that before.
Oh, full beat. Full beat is like in drag.
Love.
Get a wig.
Mm-hmm.
Put on a dress.
Yep. And hide your testicles, though. Hide the testicles. Don't let them pop out. Make sure your red tighty whities fit. You do not want to scare any of your friends.
Tuck. They said that. That's
tuck
a tuck.
Tuck it
so
in.
Tuck. Beat, tuck.
Beat and tuck.
Put on a dress. Put on some lights. Make yourself make sure the lights are on.
Lighting really helps.
And put a camera up and see what comes. And then watch it back and see how you feel.
See, the one thing I would edit before you watch it back, after you're doing it, are you having fun? Are you enjoying yourself? Sometimes watching it back, like, then you go, oh, is that what I look like? I would almost play around for a while and see how you feel. If it's fun, are you having fun? Then watch it back a little bit later.
Sure.
Do you ever hear yourself on it? Like if I hear myself in the podcast, it's like, oh, my voice is loud. Like you take yourself out of the moment when you're too self-conscious.
1,000%.
But I agree, as a performer, once you start deciding, okay, I might present this to other people, you want to know what it is you're serving up.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think, and maybe you don't even need to watch it. Maybe you'll know immediately, this isn't for me, or I am on fire.
I'm on fire.
I must get in front of an audience.
But Parker,
go call some bingo in Erie, Pennsylvania, or whatever. I mean, I don't know what the drag scene's like in Erie, Pennsylvania, but I bet they need you.
There's a big scene there in Erie, Pennsylvania.
You heard that?
No, but it's possible. And either way, whatever it is, anytime you can say my fear is getting in my way, we know the answer there. Tell your fear. You know what I tell my kids? When they're worried or when they have fears, I say, hand me the fears. I'm going to put them on this table. Tomorrow, if you wake up and you're like, oh, I really want that fear back, I'll give it to you. But the truth is, you never want your fear back. Go put it on the fucking table over there. Don't worry about it for a minute. Ask for it back if you want it.
And the table's like too high for them?
No, the table, because you forgot by the next day. You're not like, where did I put my fear? You don't. You just get rid of it for a second.
I like that you pick a table where they could just go get it, not like a high shelf. It starts when they're very young.
It's a small table for small people, especially when they're little, like Hope, when she's like, I might have bad dreams. I say, give me your bad dreams. I'm going to put them on the table. You don't have to worry about them. They'll still be, if you really want them tomorrow, they'll still be there.
Do they ever want them the next day?
No, nobody wants their bad fears or dreams back. You just want them out of your head for a second. Put them on the table.
What a sweet thing, Becki.
Hand me your fears. Give them to me. I'm going to put them on this table. If you want them back tomorrow at our next podcast, be like, where are they? Done. See, you feel better already. I'm so glad we did this. I'd like to say something nice about you. You're so, your testicle.
Something about my testicle.
Is beautiful. And you are beautiful.
Honestly, there's a lot of beautiful things on a male's body.
A squished testicle is like up there.
It's like
the escaping, squished, flattened, kind of nervous testicle.
Gasping for breath.
Just
veiny, bluish,
cold
hair. It's
just a lot of vague anatomy.
What a beautiful. And you've seen it.
I have. I'm one of the lucky few.
One of the lucky few who have gotten to see my gasping for breath. Squished. And I'll say about you that you are, well, I think I've done this one before, but this is you're such a good mom. What is sweet? Did you come up with that yourself, this whole...
Being a nice mom?
Take your fears and put it on a table?
I don't know. I think I read it once or made me laugh once and I started doing it and just kept doing it.
That's so good.
Put the thoughts somewhere
else. Your kids are so lucky.
Thank you. They're lucky because you're godpapa. You have to come over and play with them.
Okay.
But I'm not going to let you feed them after hearing the story about the organ meats. So, but you can still, we'll order in.
We'll order in.
Yeah.
I'll just peruse the pantry where things are dry goods.
Dry goods. Add some milk. Thank you, everybody. Please come back next time. This was so fun.
What a great episode.
My favorite. One of my favorites. Make sure you stay ugly.
Stay ugly, y'all.
Bye. Still Ugly is filmed at Rabbit Grin Studios.
Produced by Rabbit Grin Productions.
Music by the one and only Jeff Beal.
Executive produced by Rob Hollis, Jeff Porter, Natalie Hollis.
Creative producer, Jesse Thurston.
Video edit and mix master by Chris Faller.